Hello there, my name's Craig and welcome to the channel where we put the spotlight onto German football. This is a special video about a small city in Bavaria. Relax. We've not become a travel channel. It's the focus on a football club heralding from a small city in Bavaria. Do you know what? It's a true story of commitment, hard work and never say die attitude. We bring you the condensed story of FC Augsburg. Hope you enjoy. To start with, where is it? Where is Augsburg? Well, Augsburg can be found in Bavaria, in a region what they call Swabia. It's a regional dialect for people in the area. Side note, local rivals-ish of Augsburg, VfB Stuttgart, well, they're called the Swabians. Augsburg is the third largest city in Bavaria. That's after Nuremberg and Munich. Oh, and by the way, it's only 50 kilometres west. Yeah, 50 kilometres west of Munich. It lies where the three Alpine rivers meet. That's the Lech, the Wertach, and the Singold. The current population of Augsburg is about 304,000. It's ranked inside the top 25 cities in Germany. It's on the same band as Karlsruhe, which, by the way, is one of the very first teams in Germany to adopt football as we know it today. It's bigger than Freiburg and Mainz, which is kind of relevant, right? Because that's two of the teams that are having an unprecedented year in the Bundesliga. Just to put in context, by the way, Germany as a nation has a population of 84 million people. So Augsburg, in effect, has 0.36% of that overall population. If you think about the number of registered professional footballers that there are in Germany, well, that's 1,562. And out of 41.5 million males in Germany, that would make 3.76 professional footballers per 100,000 people. Now, keep in mind that the population of Augsburg was 304,000. Well, that would be just enough to field a first 11. Let's hope that no one gets injured. The history of Augsburg is fascinating. It was founded in 1907 under the name of FC Arminia. That was on August the 8th, 1907, the day of the German Peace Festival. They have a nickname, which is curious and might land me in a bit of trouble with YouTube. The nickname is Die Fuggerstatter. Die Fuggerstatter? Yeah, Die Fuggerstatter. And that originates from a wealthy family in the region called the Fuggers. Actually, the original interpretation of that was the Fuckers. But again, I've got to be careful. Certainly if I want to end up being monetised. The Fuggers, anyway, well, they were a rich family. They were a family of European bankers, venture capital people that just blossomed during the Renaissance period in history. Actually, at one point, the family, with its founding father, Hans Fugger, well, they had a monopoly on the European copper market. I went down a rabbit hole, as you do, and according to TripAdvisor, the number one attraction in Augsburg is the Fuggery. Not Thuggery, Fuggery with an F. You'll have to excuse my pronunciation. It's effectively the world's first, and by the default of time, the oldest social housing project that exists. And it was started up by Jacob the Rich Fugger, one of the sons that went on to really ram that family's wealth home, but also had a heart to give back. Or you can also enjoy an organised pub crawl for about €36. Not sure that includes all the beers on that night out, by the way. Anyway, so 1910 it plays its first competitive game in a variation of a regional league. In 1913, it narrowly loses out promotion to a higher class of non-league. Oh, by the way, it's all amateur at this point, yeah. A higher class losing out to a TG München. In 1914, it joins the German Football Association, or the DFB, the DFB, which was founded, curiously, in East Germany, in Leipzig, in 1900. In 1927, Hans Semmler becomes the first full-time coach of Augsburg. Just as a side note, he's an ex-player that had a nose for goal. He won multiple regional championships and was top scorer in the German Championship in 1922. Again, just remember, this is all pre-Bundesliga. And even as you go throughout history and you look it up yourself, do your own research, again, there's myriads of different divisions divisions, right? Of how the entire league is cut up pre-1963. But we'll get there. Anyway, in 1951, they win their first major honours. That's the Bavarian Cup. Yeah, Augsburg in 1951 win the Bavarian Cup. Interesting, though, that they played under the label or the name of BC Augsburg from 1921 right through to 1969. Their first competitive match as FC Augsburg, as we know it today, was against another local rival in FC Nuremberg. That was in 1969 in a game where Augsburg sadly lost 3-0. That said, it was played out in front of 13,000. And put that in context, in today, 2025, the average home gate at the WWK Augsburg Arena is about 29,950. So, wow, that was a lot of people back then for an amateur game. There are some famous players that have pulled on that Die Vogelstädter shirt over the years. One is Helmut Haller. Helmut Haller was a striker that was just a phenomenon. He was a product of the youth academy at Augsburg. He played 179 times over 3 different shifts in history, scoring 47 goals. And in 1962, he became the first German-born player to go and play in Italy, signing for FC Bologna. Again, I'll try and put a link to the video in the description. I have a preview coming out for the UEFA Nations League quarter-final game between Germany and Italy, which is happening on Donnerstag this week. Or the first leg's on Donnerstag and the second leg, where Germany play away in Italy, will be on Sonstag. Anyway, back to him at Haller. Yeah, he was absolutely idolised out in Bologna for his irresistible dribbling, his innate genius, and his eye for goal. He played against England, by the way, in the famous 1966 World Cup final at the OG Cathedral, that is Wembley. You know, before they knocked those 2 towers down and sort of turned it into something that's shiny and is hideously expensive, both to attend and to consume at. Politics aside, though, that guy was there. You know, he scored the first goal, in fact, in that 66 World Cup final, which England go on to win, I suppose in inauspicious circumstances. But you won't get hat-trick hero Big Jeff doubting that one, will you? Actually, there's an interesting fact that Haller, he was the second top goal scorer in that tournament. That was behind the iconic Portuguese striker Eusebio. Eusebio got 9, Haller got 6. And actually, he picked up the match ball after that game, along with his runners-up medal in that final. But apparently, as I read, that 30 years on, he did return that match ball to the hat-trick hero from the final, World Cup winner Geoff Hurst. They think it's all over. In 1963, the DFB welcome in the Bundesliga. Still not quite in the guise that we know of it today, but hey, you know, they were trialing something brand new and shiny and doing their best to make sense of all the chaos of the regions and the sub-regional leagues that came below it. The Bundesliga effectively replaced the old Oberliga Süd and all its different flavours in Germany. That was where Augsburg had been playing for quite a while. They were a founding member, by the way, of the Oberliga Süd in 1945, along with Bayern Munich and their bitter rivals 1860 Munich and local rivals to Augsburg VfB Stuttgart. Entry into the Bundesliga was just highly complex, and It was all based on this intricate system of points played out over a period of 10 years. Seems to be a lot of politics involved as well. Get this, right? Bayern Munich, despite finishing higher with their points tally over a period of 10 years, missed out to bitter rivals 1860 on the basis that 1860 won the final ever Oberliga Sud, went up as champions, and also, politically, the DFB didn't want two clubs represented the same city. Just imagine United and City or Liverpool and Everton fighting over that one in the modern day. Anyway, historically that happened. So I guess the point or the interesting takeaway is that Bayern Munich did not feature in the inaugural Bundesliga in 1963. That was eventually won by FC Köln. And look how those two clubs have led a different path in history. Sadly, Augsburg missed out on promotion to the inaugural Bundesliga because of this bizarre points-based system, and they were relegated down into the Regionalliga Sud, the second division, or a flavour of it. And that spiral downwards continued, unfortunately, into 1964, where they ended up in the third division. Remember that baller, Helmut Haller, that we spoke about, that once graced the hallowed turf of Wembley, that played overseas, that caught the eye? Well, he came back. Yeah, he came back for a second shift in 1974, re-signing from Juventus. Legend has it that Augsburg paid 44,000 Deutschmarks for him back then. That would be about 130,000 euro in today's money. He did repay him though, and he repaid him with 9 goals and a bounce into the second division. That's because they won the Regionalliga Sud. The papers were, well, the fans were there and the papers were all over it, heralding the team as the Napoli of Germany. I'm sure that somewhere out there, Mr. Spalletti will be stroking a cat to that one. He won a Serie A with Napoli and he's the Italy manager that Germany's going to be going against in the UEFA Nations League quarterfinals. This is a story of hardship, as I've sort of framed in the start, and again, sadly, Augsburg missed out on back-to-back promotions, this time finishing a single point behind another poetic-sounding team, evocative of a bygone era, Tennis Borussia Berlin. Yeah, sadly they missed out by a single point in the promotion rounds, had to stick where they were. Augsburg, well, they kind of stagnated for a decade after that. That's despite a third and final comeback from Mr. Haller, age 40. Despite all his amazing skills, he just couldn't quite save the Fuggers from slipping back into Bavaria's regional amateur league, the Bayernliga. Stay with me, it's going to get smoother, I promise. Shout out, by the way, to legendary striker Karl-Heinz Riedler. He started his playing career at Augsburg, scored 31 times in 80 games, was a winner at the World Cup in Italia 90, was playing for Dortmund at the time, even spent some time up front for Liverpool under Roy Evans. What was bizarre is that duo of Riedler and Evans, well, they linked up again at Fulham. Riedler even spent a shift as player manager for Fulham. They went down from the Premier League into the Championship in the year 2000, but in that following season, the eventual yo-yo season where they went back up, he played 14 times, he scored 1 goal before calling it a day, but that did secure Fulham's promotion back to the Premier League. What a player, Karl-Heinz Riedler. Looked great in a scarf. And the Bayernliga is where Augsburg toiled for long after Karl-Heinz Riedler had moved on to his next significant milestone. And that for the club was 1998/99. Now, their main sponsor at the time, Informatek, well, they defaulted on a promise of providing 3 million Deutschmark as a security. And faced with debts that the club just was unable to pay, the DFB denied Augsburg its Regionalliga licence. And compounded with that misery, they sent the club even further down, this time to the 4th tier. They do bounce back though, and that's thanks to external investment from a local entrepreneur, clothing magnate, Walter Sanch. He assumed the role of chairman He put his Deutschmarks where his mouth was, and the club's outlook, well, it just dramatically improved. To the point where they started the 2006/7 season in the second Bundesliga. That's after a 23-year hiatus. Yep, they were now on this upwards ascent to the promised land. In 2009, Augsburg moved into the shiny new stadium, the Augsburg Arena, which is currently called the WWK Arena. Interesting that it was one of the venues for the Women's World Cup in 2011. Germany, well, they lost out to the eventual winners Japan 1-0 in the quarter-finals. But people were impressed with the stadium and they keep flocking to it. In 2010, under Dutch manager Jos Luhake, that's going to need an overlay, Augsburg reached the DFB-Pokal semi-final. That's the German equivalent of the English FA Cup. Sadly, the promise of a final was just too far for that humbled but heroic team. They lost 2-0 to Werder Bremen, but they did finish third that season in the second Bundesliga, which presented a playoff game to go up into the Bundesliga proper. Sadly, again, and I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but again, it's a story of hardship, but hard work and commitment and resilience does pay off in the end. Yes, they lost to Nuremberg over 2 legs. It's cruel, this playoff relegation battle happens in Scotland and a few other countries, but it's just bursting with drama. And drama is what encapsulates this club, because the Fuggers didn't have to wait long for that day in the sun. In 2011, they finally made it to the Bundesliga. Cue the confetti. Striker Stefan Hein scored on the 85th minute to give Augsburg a 2-1 win over SV Frankfurt to secure promotion into the promised land of the Bundesliga. That was his 9th goal this season, and Augsburg were promoted because they finished second with 65 points. He scored 58 and conceded 27, and the top scorer that season in 2011/12 was the Angolan striker Nando Rafael. 14 goals in 27 games. And the captain and centre-back, Uwe Müller, well, he played 30 games, he scored 1, and he came up with 1 assist. Augsburg's first ever win in the Bundesliga, well, that was a 1-0 win over Mainz in October 15th, 2011. The scorer, centre-back Jan Inge Carlsen-Bracker, not going to forget that in a hurry, are you? Would have cost a fortune on the back of the shirt. They survived in the Bundesliga as well that season. They survived with a game to spare, finishing the season in 14th place on 38 points. Scoring 36, conceding 49. And do you know what? They've retained their place in the Bundesliga ever since. That is an impressive 13 consecutive seasons. In 2015, the drama gets even better when under coach Markus Weinzierler, Augsburg qualified for the Europa League. That's following a 3-1 victory over Mönchengladbach on the final day of the season. They finished 5th in the Bundesliga, a record high for a club that's absolutely been punching above its weight. In 2016, that's the following year, they progressed out of the European League group phase thanks to a last-gasp dramatic winner away at Partizan Belgrade. However, they bowed out in the round of 32, but only losing narrowly 1-0 to Liverpool over 2 legs. As an interesting note, Emre Can was in that Liverpool lineup that night. At this point, it feels like a valuable exercise to open the record books and just look at, some of the icons that have played for the club and their achievements over the years. Looking at the most appearances in the club's 118-year history, and again, some of this data could be wrong, so please feel free to correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty confident that in reverse order, it's Andre Hahn. Yeah, Andre Hahn had 2 spells with the Fuggers and was once called up to Germany's 30-man provisional squad ahead of the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. Sadly, he wasn't selected for the final squad, but he's a bit of a legend at the club, having started with them in the Regionalliga, or the lower leagues, and gone on that journey all the way to the Bundesliga. In 159 appearances for the club, he scored 32 times, and he'll feature quite frequently in all these categories. But yeah, in third place, Andre Hahn, German-born striker, 159 appearances for the club. In second place, and still playing, very much so, is captain and centre-back, the Dutchman Jeffrey Gualiwau. With every week, we try and do our best to pronounce that right. Yeah, Jeffrey Gualiwau, 250 appearances, and like I say, still going strong. 7 goals as well to his name. This season in particular, he's played 25 games so far, and he scored 1 goal, and that was a headed free kick in a 1-0 recent home win against a dismal playing Dortmund. He's in second place, like I say, with 250 appearances. And out front is Daniel Bayer. Yeah, Daniel Bayer, a talented Cologne-born midfielder. They signed him from Wolfsburg in 2010. Sadly retired in 2020. But in his career for Augsburg, he played 324 times, scoring 8 goals. As for the most goals scored for Augsburg in their history, we start off in third place with another active player, and that's in Michael Gregoritsch. I quite like him, actually. Austrian-born, 29 goals he scored in 119 games for Augsburg. Unfortunately, he was sold to Freiburg for €4.5 million in 2022. And like I say, that's where he's still playing now. Actually scored the other day, and he'll most likely be featuring for Austria in their competitive round of friendlies over the next few weeks. In second place, and we've just talked about him, it's Andre Hahn. Sadly, he retired in 2024, so he retired last year due to serious injury. But in that spell that he had with the club, in 159 games, he scored 32 goals. Some of them were extremely valuable as part of their survival and actually their European road trip. And out front, it's the Icelandic striker Alfred Finnbogason. He played 115 times for Augsburg, once scored 12 in a single season. He's racked up 4 hat-tricks, and he scored 37 goals for the club in total. So there you go, Alfred Finnbogason, 37 big goals in 115 games for Die Fugerstatter. And all good strikers work in tandem with a talented midfielder. You know, those flair players that have got the vision and can see a through ball that then ends up being a goal. Well, again, let's take a look at the assist makers that have graced the Fugerstatter shirt over the years. In third place, it's Tobias Werner. Yeah, in 187 games, he scored 35 times, but laid on 17 assists, and all that from the left wing. Sadly, he retired in 2019 due to health issues, but he made an impact when he did play for Augsburg in those 187 games. Tobias Werner there. Andre Hahn, well, we've mentioned him quite a few times, yeah. In that 159 games that he played for the club as a striker, he was also unselfish because he made 20 other goals happen, yeah. 20 assists in 159 games for the loyal German forward, Andre Hahn. And out front, but not by a great margin, by the way, is Philip Max. He was a machine at left back, known for making blistering runs. He contributed 23 assists in 145 games for Augsburg. Actually scored 15 times, and he's still playing. He's currently playing at Panathinaikos in Greece. Philip Max there. As for the keepers and the clean sheets, well, this category was tougher than an Oberliga Sud football to research. Data on the internet was sparse. You know, I had to go down many rabbit holes on Transfer Market, Who Scored, and various other popular websites, and even some that weren't. It was fun though, because I live for data. And I know I usually present it as a top 3. I've come up with 4 because I just couldn't resist this one. At number 4 is Walter Modric, tastic German keeper. He's now 73 years of age in real life. He played 74 games for Die Vogelstädter, keeping 14 clean sheets. And hopefully, his face is still decorated by that unrivaled tash. Third place, we've got one of 2 Polish keepers that have played for Augsburg, and that's Rafael Gajkiewicz. In 96 games, he kept 23 clean sheets. That was quite recent, actually. That was between 2020 and the 2023 season. So, yeah, very recent indeed. He's currently still playing. He's playing in Poland in the Ekstraklasa. It's the Bundesliga equivalent anyway in Poland. He's playing for Widzew Łódź. Again, my apologies, Rafael, there for absolutely butchering that one. In second place, it's the Polish spiky-haired keeper Dariusz Kamper. Kamper kept 24 clean sheets, and actually a lot of these came in successive, like 2 or 3 game bursts. 24 clean sheets in 58 games between 1995 and 1998. He actually went on to play in the Bundesliga for FC Nuremberg and Mönchengladbach. And out front is the bad boy of Bâle, and you'll get why in a minute. This is Marwan Hilst. Hilst was a hit with the club. He racked up 47 clean sheets in 157 games for the Fuggers between a 5-year period of 2013 and 2018. And get this right, he was once fined €112.92 for FC Köln for effectively spoiling the penalty spot before a kick was taken in a Bundesliga game. Bundesliga second. Sorry, Dritte Bundesliga, sorry. The Frenchman, Anthony Modeste, well, he stepped up to take the penalty, slipped in his run-up. Hitz made the save. Augsburg won the game 1-0, but afterwards Hitz faced the music because he felt the shame and he paid the fine. He actually went on to play for Dortmund. So yeah, there you go. The bad boy of Bâle, Marwan Hitz. Also going through the record books, it was interesting to see the biggest margins that the club have been through. Their biggest ever win margin in the Bundesliga is 6-0. 6-0 over Darmstadt on match day 24 in the 2024 season, so last season. And their record loss, and they won't thank me for reminding them about this one, is 8-1. Yes, they lost 8-1 once upon a time to Wolfsburg on the last day of the 2019 season. In this current season, under the Norwegian management of Jess Thorup, well, they're enjoying a 6-game consecutive clean sheet run. Yeah, Finn Darman, the 25-year-old keeper, is absolutely being backed up by big Jeffrey Goulawi and his team. They're currently in 9th place in the Bundesliga on 38 points, which is just 4 points off a Conference League spot for next season. In terms of their future prospects, well, like I say, Europe is very much the ambition, and an achievable ambition, I might add, for next season. They've got 8 games to go when the Bundesliga resumes after the international break, and those games are against Hoffenheim, Bayern Munich, Bochum, Frankfurt, Leverkusen, Holstein Kiel, rivals Stuttgart, the Swabians, and the final match day of the season is a home game against Union Berlin. Like I say, Europe is very achievable for this team, and they're being dragged closer and closer to that much revered finish line by the goals and the assist, actually, from Alexis Claude Maurice. 9 goals in 20 games this season, 3 in 1 game recently against Gladbach. But they do need to hold on to key players. Key players like Finn Darman, 25-year-old keeper, has kept 8 clean sheets so far this season. They also ideally would keep hold of Krislin Matisma, 20-year-old French centre-back, 22 games this season, 1 goal, and again he's contributed to that defence, keeping 8 clean sheets. And they've also got Mert Kummer, is a prospect, quite a hot one as well, a 19-year-old attacking midfielder, Mert Kummer. He's played 13 times, so I should say he's made 13 appearances this season, 1 goal, 1 assist. And of course, it's ideal they held on to Alexis Claude Maurice for his valuable goals. The Augsburg stories, one of resilience with hard work triumphing over quality every time. And that's not to say that they haven't got quality, as proven by the academy graduates that they've produced over the years, the likes of Helmut Haller and Karl-Heinz Riedler. One a World Cup winner and one a World Cup runner-up that was adored in Italy. They never backed down from a challenge, did Die Vogelstädter, and they've overcome adversity time and time again throughout their 118-year history. Exciting times are ahead for the Fuggers, especially with a return to Europe being so tantalisingly close. What did you think of that video? If you enjoyed it, how about a like? You know, Gonzo and I, we're happy to run a feature on any club that features within anywhere, actually, in the infrastructure of the Bundesliga. You can expect a video from us on Arminia Bielefeld very soon, because they've got a DFB-Pokal semi-final coming up against RB Leipzig. It's been played on April the 1st, but don't worry, it's not on April the 1st, it's genuine. They are actually in a DFB-Pokal semi-final. And that video will be coming up soon, and you'll know that, right? Because you'll be subscribed. You know, asking from the bottom of our tiny crumpled hearts, we would be extremely grateful if you could subscribe, because again, you would know about future videos like the one on Bielefeld and what's going to be the review of Germany taking on Italy in the UEFA Nations League quarterfinals. That's it. Like I say, hope you enjoyed the video. It was a ton of fun to research and put together. All that needs to be said now is it's goodbye from him. It's goodbye from me. You've been amazing, and we'll catch you very soon on the German Football Spotlight channel. Auf Wiedersehen for now.